What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso. Second emergency pod in 4 days. The New York Jets do, in fact, sign wide receiver Mike Williams. 1 year, $15 million. I'm sure there's plenty of incentives worked in there. The New York Jets now have a new left tackle and a new wide receiver, too. We're going to talk all about it because once that back signal goes up, we're back in front of here recording. Connor, how you doing? How you feeling?
Man, I'm going to admit I'm surprised that this one, I said it on the last pod, I was like, it's a bad business decision if Mike Williams doesn't go and see what other offers he has. And to the surprise of me, it wasn't a bad business decision. The Jets just prioritized this one almost as much as any signing I can remember. I mean, let's be clear, I really like Mike Williams. He is a really good complement skill set to Garrett Wilson. Big body target. I'm all about having big receivers out on the field. But, coming off the ACL, and
Yeah.
I thought they would kind of get a little ticky-tacky and, maybe offer him a base of $6 million up to 10, $7 million up to 12. And we'll see what the official number is. I'd imagine it's close to 8 is guaranteed, or 7, like what we like to call the Javon Kinlaw contract. But up to $15 million with incentives is a really good deal for Mike Williams in this spot. And it just shows the Jets were aggressive in getting this one done in a way that they typically, because we look back at the Tyron Smith deal and we're like, damn, I'm surprised Tyron Smith took that. And every beat writer's like, the Jets are surprised Tyron Smith took that. With the Mike Williams deal, I mean, this is a really good deal for him. And it just makes sense for the Jets because now they go into the draft. They can play the board. It felt like they got away from that last year. They probably will prioritize trading out, but there's no guarantees you'll get the offer to do that. And in this draft, if the worst case scenario is you have to take the best player on the board, well, that player is going to be really good at the 10th overall pick. And everything we had hoped for with this offseason, which was, well, a lot of your original plans didn't work. So how are you going to adjust in this unique 2-year window with Aaron Rodgers? You're going to have to be aggressive in free agency before the draft. They've gone step for step with our hopes for that. So a credit to the Jets for closing on Tyron Smith, closing on Mike Williams, getting these veterans in here that they won't be here for a very long time, but they're here during a very pivotal time. And there's nothing obviously stopping them from, if things go well this year, tacking on another year to their deal next year to be in this Rodgers window, we like to call it. This is one that just made a lot of sense and is a step above the Odell Beckham, Tyler Boyd's of the world. I mean, Mike Williams, healthy, ironically, is a better wide receiver than Calvin Ridley, but the Jets got him at this discount because, let's be fair, he's coming off an ACL, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, look, I think you have the luxury now at 10, that much more, where you take the best player available. And, you can stand to take a receiver. You could stand to take a left tackle. You have both those guys on 1-year deals. There'll be some chatter about quarterback now. I still don't think that's going to happen. I still think it's trade down most likely. Probably a pass catcher second most likely, and then an offensive lineman third most likely. But 2 and 3, I would say, are right on top of each other. It depends how the board breaks or what they trade down for. I've liked the potential of a Williams addition a lot. We've talked about it a lot in this pod. I feel like we've wanted that X receiver outside the numbers since Brandon Marshall's been gone. And Williams, when he's healthy, I mean, he's not Brandon Marshall, but when he is healthy, he is a perfect complement for Garrett Wilson. He is a pure X. He will win in the red zone. He will win on jump balls. He will win on 9 routes. He will allow Garrett to go in motion, go over the middle, play out of the slot, make his life substantially easier. This is a guy who's been over 1,000 yards a couple times. He's got a 10-touchdown season on his resume. And the Jets don't even necessarily need that from him. If he can go out, play 14 games, get them 900 yards and 5-6 touchdowns and open some stuff up in the red zone,
great. It's
going to make life much, much easier for Garrett Wilson. And credit to Joe Douglas for getting these things done. We had the checklist at the beginning of the week, and he checked the box on number 1, getting Williams. Hopefully they're able to add to the front 7, which is Davion Clowney, and they stay on a roll here. There's a couple other minor things around the roster you'd like to see them do at safety and move on from Zach Wilson. But the big ticket needs they addressed successfully now in free agency based on what was out there. 3 offensive linemen, a legitimate number 2 receiver. And while it's no apologies and no appreciation parades until I'm in the playoffs for I'm in the parking lot for a home playoff game, we will give credit when credit's due, and this is a good job
Yeah,
uh, over
time
the
to win.
course of 4 days. It's exciting. It brings some vibes and energy back to the fan base, and this is how you treat the Aaron Rodgers window. If you're going to go for it with Aaron Rodgers and everything that brings with it, go for it. Don't half measure it. This is why everyone has such a visceral reaction to them slow playing things. Go for it. Go do the last stand Jets that we talked about last year. This is that. This is Tyron Smith. This is Morgan Moses. This is Mike Williams. All these guys check the box. And again, the draft is that much more exciting and entertaining. And if the Jets handle the draft well, we are not far away, and we might already almost be there to saying the Jets have the best division, the best roster in the AFC East. Like, that is not a crazy thing to throw out there now. Post Tyron Smith, post Morgan Moses, post Mike Williams, a couple more additions, and you nail the draft. Someone's got to explain to me why, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, the Bills or Dolphins are better than the Jets on paper, because these are the kind of moves where if these guys are healthy, you just add it to. I mean, Tyron Smith, when he's healthy, is one of the best players in the NFL at his position. Mike Williams, if he's healthy, will be one of the best wide receiver twos in the NFL. So you filled two major needs with high ceiling versus high floor guys, and that's what you need to do in the win now window. So exciting. And I don't know, what do you expect this offense to look like? And then what do you think comes next to put a bow on this hot streak?
Well, it's going to be really interesting now more than ever to see who the 10th overall pick is, because I can tell you one thing about this offense on paper now, and then drafting Brock Bowers or Roma Dunze completely changes the base personnel package to me, honestly. Where, although to be fair, you would think that even as it stands now, Conklin's going to have a big role on this team. I think he meshes well with Rodgers, where if they took Bowers, you could play them both together, but the point is a tight end will be featured in this offense, or will be a feature in this offense. So with Williams, you just have a true outside wide receiver. I remember before he got hurt last year, the Chargers were actually giving him looks in the slot, but I know the Jets really like Garrett Wilson in the slot, the ability to move him around. The Jets like moving their receivers around. They don't like saying, hey, Xavier Gibson or Garrett Wilson, you're in the slot for 90% of the reps today. Like that, they like having the ability to play guys inside and outside, or then when they go into 11 personnel, if Gibson or a player of that elk is out there, then he could play the slot and Garrett could play outside. So I think the Jets, the signings they made in the offensive line, there will be a little bit more of a gap scheme approach in the run game. They are obviously a team now that the two wide receivers that are going to be on the field a ton, barring the fact that they do have to. It's going to be interesting to see how they treat Tyron and Mike Williams specifically, because you do want to have some kind of legitimate sports science plan for these guys, right? Like,
Yeah.
What is the workload? Tyron's a guy that didn't even practice last year. He had his own practice, and that's fine. Who the hell cares? Mike Williams, honestly, is a guy to me that he's on the injury, even before the ACL. He was always on the injury report. He doesn't practice full weeks. And who cares? It does not matter. So they need a plan to keep these guys on the field and maximize their usage. And that's why improving on the margins matters so much, because, like you said, 13, 14 games from Mike Williams, 13 games from Tyron Smith. Okay, who's the depth that's filling in those other games, right? Is it Roma Dunze? Is it Troy Fatanu? Is it Amarius Mims? I mean, and those are the easy one, right? Like, any of us can make that pick at 10, and we feel pretty good about then our depth option, or in a, interesting or a more niche role out of the gate. What they do in the third round matters a lot too now, because I still think they should draft a wide receiver, and that's why the draft has such a trickle effect on that question, because say they, at 10, take a lineman that's going to compete to start at left guard and eventually be a long-term tackle and will have to play this year. Well, in the third round, I still want to take a wide receiver. And now the good thing for the Jets is in getting Mike Williams, yes, it's only a one-year deal, but I think we were, and the Jets were too, so fixated on getting a big target, and you honestly forget Lazard is on this team, and I think the Jets act like he's not, which is the right approach. That was a bad move in hindsight. You can take a smaller wide receiver in the third round, and there's a lot of good ones in this draft. Like, I think ultimately, guys that come to mind, top of mind for people like Lad McConkey and Jalen Polk, they might be gone, but, do you look later in this draft and you're looking at the Malik Washingtons of the world, Jamari Thrash, Malachi Corley? Like, you don't even necessarily have to use a third rounder on those guys, and now you have that spot on this offense open because you have the big body target on the outside of Mike Williams, and once again the versatility of Garrett Wilson. So the Jets are doing all of this because they're trying to get back to a process of just stacking players by how good of football players they think they are, and the draft will come to them. They did a really good job of that. It felt like in 2022 when they put a premium on Sauce because they wanted to take him ahead of the Giants. They took the right wide receiver at 10. They went back into the first round for Jermaine. They got Breece Hall in the top 40. They let that draft kind of come to them and they played the board. Then last year, when they took Will McDonald, who we liked, but I had a second round grade on Will McDonald, it was like, the board felt kind of weird. We think this is a need, because let's not forget, they weren't that high on Bryce Huff. We think this is a need, so we're going to take this guy. Like, they have to avoid that this year. They have to be like, we love our roster. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to have to step up and play at some point. But we don't have to sit here and go, damn, we don't have a number 2 wide receiver. Now we got to take one at 10. Damn, we don't have a left tackle. We have to take one at 10. That's the point of all these Band-Aid deals, because now you're going to be at your best drafting when you're just taking talent, which is what they did in 2022, because let's be real, after 2021, the roster was complete shit. So they were like, okay, we think Sauce is one of the best players in the draft. We need a corner, we'll take him. We think Garrett Wilson's one of the best players in the draft. We need a wide receiver, we'll take him. Needed a pass rusher and a running back. They just took the best players at those positions, and it worked out for them. That's what they're trying to get back to. And I think that's really good self-evaluation by this front office and by this organization as a whole, getting back to that thought process.
It's back-to-back very exciting and encouraging moves. And I think these are the things that maximize your window with Aaron Rodgers potentially. You've given him the right type of veteran supporting cast, and there's no reason that you can't continue to chip away at that supporting cast on offense and defense now throughout the rest of the offseason. You've gotten your big ticket items, your big ticket holes filled with proven veteran additions, most specifically talking here with Moses, with Tyron Smith, and with Mike Williams. And Simpson as a nice upgrade over Laken Tomlinson. You filled the backup quarterback issue with Tyrod Taylor. And the ceiling for this offense is just substantially higher now. Because, look, like, if they have their 5 starting linemen healthy, and Mike Williams is out there with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and Conklin's at tight end, anything else that you're adding on top of that is kind of gravy in my mind.
Right.
Like,
but guys will get hurt.
Guys will get hurt, but like when you have those guys all out there,
oh yeah,
that's a hard offense to stop. Even Martini Nate can't mess that up, especially with Rodgers under center. Teams just aren't going to have the horses to run with the Jets and be able to slow them down, which is a rare thing for us to say about them on offense. It's not dissimilar. Take a shot because I'm talking about 2015. It's not dissimilar from a better version of what we saw then. The Jets had a top 10 offense because teams didn't have the horses to run with Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker and Quincy Enunwa and Chris Ivory in his prime and a good offensive line. And all Fitzpatrick had to do was close his eyes and throw it up. Now you have Aaron Rodgers out there who can be surgical with 2 guys who are talented enough to be 1,000-yard receivers. You have a 1,000-yard back who's got a much higher ceiling than Ivory did, even though he was really good that year. That's your closest frame of reference as to what a really good Jets offense could look like. And Williams, especially for a team that's been so bad in the red zone and feels like they never win contested catches on jump balls. Like Corey Davis was supposed to be that guy. He always lost contested catches. They never have someone since Brandon Marshall who goes up and wins on a 50-50 ball. That's what Mike Williams does, and Aaron Rodgers is only going to make his life that much easier. So love whenever we get to do this many emergency pods. Love that we end up having fun. It's fun.
They needed to buy back that goodwill, right? Like we've been on that. It felt like they were walking into a dangerous situation where people would come back for OTAs and everyone's looking at each other and going, damn, like when our 40-year-old quarterback sprains his ankle, we're all thinking about Cabo. And I think they've gotten all those dark feelings out of the building, with Tyrod there, with all the actual top-end talent they've added, having a real offensive line. I think it makes you wonder, do they just, we think they might cut Zach Wilson at the end of the day, but he won't be on this team. But with Lazard, do they kind of treat him the same way where it's like, let's just get all the bad vibes out of the building. It'll be really interesting to watch.
Vibe
I
cleanse.
think they've done a good job with the vibe cleanse for sure.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I don't know when we'll talk to you next. My guess is it will be very soon. At the rate things
Clowney
are
visits
going,
tomorrow.
the Clowney podcast, same place, same time. That could very well be it. Enjoy the vibes. Enjoy the positive news, Jet fans. We're on paper going to be a very fun team next year, and we all want.
And we've won the offseason again.
We've won the offseason again, undefeated.
Yes.
Can't lose. We will not lose. I also think this is like our quickest time from bat signal to recording in Badlands history. So I'm proud of us on our endurance and ability.
Maybe 11 minutes.
I will say for the record, I'm in New York City, and I dead sprinted back through Times Square to my hotel to record this. So, and I don't run that fast anymore. Not as fast as Mike Williams or all the Jets receivers, but I got here. Thank you for everyone listening. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will talk to you soon.